Hey guys, Kyle the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for My Hero Academia chapter 289. So, first thing I want to talk about with this chapter is Shigaraki and the continued psychological battle for control he's having with All For One, because the interesting thing about that for me is that even though he is obviously becoming more dangerous the more he loses control of himself, Shigaraki also appears to be leaving himself more and more vulnerable. So even though things do feel kind of like stacked with both Bakugo and Izuku severely out of the game, on top of the fact that reinforcements supposedly are arriving or have arrived, this does feel at the same time this does feel like we're approaching the moment in order to turn things around. The only question being how, because again, given the circumstances, the options to do that are extremely limited. But in either case, whatever happens from here, we are the feeling of this chapter that it gave me is that we are definitely reaching the conclusion of this arc very soon, especially with so many people converging on Shigaraki's location right now. Another thing that really caught my eye about Shigaraki, and maybe this is more just to do with the loss of control, is how much we see him kind of reverting back to his old irrational self and personality from the beginning of the series, like from just going along with the fact of him losing control and what of him losing control of himself and whatnot. He's doing so by letting his emotions just kind of run wild and trying anything he can at this point in order to remain in control it and not let All For One take over. So in that battle, that's kind of what's leaving him open to attack right now. And like I said, I think it's one of those things where it couldn't have. It's one of those things where, in some ways, it couldn't have happened at a worse time because now that Izuku and Bakugo are more or less out of commission, that it seems like they've lost their chance almost to take him out. So unless a miracle happens here, unless some kind of miracle happens, anyone needs to take advantage of this opportunity. I don't know how, but yeah, it needs to happen soon before he gains control again. Um, now. Now, there's one major. Now, with that said, there's one major thing I want to talk about which is the fact that if the last page is any indication, we're headed for on top of what's going on with Shigaraki, we may also be headed for a three-way confrontation with Shoto, Dabi, and Endeavor. If not next chapter, then very soon. And at this point, I can only hope in eager anticipation that's going to be that we're headed full steam ahead into where Horikoshi just opens the floodgates and lays all, if not all, or at least some of the cards on the table about what's going on. Because at this point, there's really no dancing around the fact that Toya is Dabi at this point. I think everyone is in agreement on that fact. The only real questions now are what the hell happened to him, how did this happen to him, and just in general, so many gaps between Toya's death and supposedly him becoming Dabi that need to be filled in. There's no question that Toya is Dabi at this point. It's just a matter of how the hell did this happen, because if we can judge perfectly honestly on Dabi's appearance in itself, Toya did in some way die, but he was reconstituted, and his entire body feels like it was just kind of stitched back. It was like stitched back together, or pieces were like his entire body is just like a doll that is now just was like pieces that were stitched back together in an effort to make, like, I don't know, a Nomu or something. But yeah, there was some kind of experiments that went on with there's definitely some experiments for sure that went on with Dabi to make him the way he is, for sure. And but whatever it is, I can only hope that with this setup and any of these questions we might have about what happened to Toya, how he became Dabi and whatnot. These will all be expanded upon in the next couple chapters minimum, because honestly, Horikoshi's been cock teasing us so much at this point when it comes to the Toya Dabi situation that at this point I'm like, Horikoshi, just lay out all the cards on the table. Just tell us what the hell is going on, because yeah, we need an explanation as to what the hell happened with Dabi here. It's kind of what the hell happened with Toya Dabi. It's unavoidable. You need to give us something to work with here, bro. Like, he really does. With that said, the chapter also gives us a conclusion to the confrontation between Ochiko and Toga, with the former pretty much giving Toga the answer she needed to hear, since this whole little skirmish for Toga was all about finding out one simple fact. Are my friends going to be okay if I leave? And for Toga, the answer to that question hinged on what Ochiko's answer was going to be. So when Ochiko had responded in the way she did throughout this whole little skirmish with Toga, she did it. It was at that point where Toga realized, I can't leave until I know my friends are going to be able to live in some relative amount of freedom, or at least free from any real harsh persecution, or even any possibility of dying in the line of a stray bullet or a stray battle or something like that, because she can't afford. Because for her, she can't afford to see what happened to Toys happen to any of them again, which goes to show something that a subscriber commented on in last week's review, which is that it shows that because the League of Villains has fought together, that they shared their suffering together, they've become so connected through their struggles that it's made their collective bond like stronger than anything the heroes have, because this very traditional mindset on the hero side of things, where you say you need to lock your feelings away in order to fight villains. And while Ochiko did kind of fail Toga's little test, you can see that Ochiko herself has also gained a bit of a different perspective from the whole experience. At least enough to see that, oh shit, that maybe I should start looking beyond the broader view of hero and villain. So the next time they fight, Ochiko may have a different reaction or a different answer to anything to basically any kind of confrontation that she has with Toga in the future. Like, it's really going to, and I am curious to see where this, and I think I am definitely curious to see as to where this confrontation isn't going to end up taking. It's going to end up taking Toga or end up taking both Toga and Ochiko. Honestly, like it's gonna be interesting to see what happens when they fight next. Honestly. And on a side note to that, I also love how the fight with Toga also took the time to show us what Ochiko's new suit is capable of. And if I have a tough time understanding the technicalities of things, but if I understand the applications of her suit correctly, it appears she can now activate her quirk more remotely from like those wires or whatnot, which, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, is a huge step forward for basically Ochiko in terms of combat abilities, as it gives her much more freedom to actually engage in combat or rescue someone while at the same time using her quirks. So it gives her a much more bit of versatility in how she engages in a disaster situation or when dealing with a villain or whatnot. So yeah, it's a nice little step up for Ochiko for sure. But yeah, and of course Ida's here, which actually the more I think about it, I think Ida's here, which the more I think about it, I think he's probably going to end up being a bit of help in terms of dealing with, now that he's here, I think he's going to be one of the key figures that's going to help like finally like at least put a halt on whatever the hell is going on with Shigaraki, because with him here, they now have someone who's more versatile with their who's they have a lot more mobility now. So yeah. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Mr. Crunchyroll. Dead Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.